In this video, I'm going to give you the step-by-step guide to using the best Amazon product research tool. We'll cover the basics of setting up your account, how to get the most accurate fees, how to keep your business organized, and of course, we'll dive into actual product research methods that you can go use to make money selling products on Amazon. So without further ado, let's just jump into it here, and I'll start giving you the quick breakdown on how to actually use this tool, SellerAmp. I first stumbled onto SellerAmp about 2 years ago at this point, and it completely changed how I run my Amazon business, where we do about $2 million a year. And it's been awesome to see how much of the community is now using SellerAmp as well to make tons of money selling products on Amazon. But the basic gist of SellerAmp is that it is a Chrome extension, it is a web app, and a mobile app. We'll be diving into all of those things that help you make money faster on Amazon, right? And before we dive into it, I know one of the golden questions you're probably wondering already is, how much does this actually cost? You can go over to selleramp.com/trial, and you'll see right here that it starts at $20 a month. And then after you start to look at over 1,000 items per month, so if you're doing that, you're making pretty good money on Amazon, then it goes up to $28 a month. And our tool is one of literally 2 that I would recommend to any new Amazon seller. So you can go ahead and get a 2-week free trial down below. And as I go through the video, we'll be setting up some settings, and I'll show you how to start looking for profitable products. So I think it'd be really valuable if you go ahead and activate that so you can follow along. Let's go ahead and jump into it here, right? So let's just go ahead and start with the most basic information. And as we go through the video, we'll get a little bit more and more advanced with it. But let's just go ahead and start by breaking down the Chrome extension. So whenever you're looking at the actual Amazon page, the Chrome extension is going to pull up a ton of information about whatever you're already actively looking at. For example, up here on the very top, we can see some basic information like how much does it weigh, which kind of helps us understand how much it's going to cost to ship into Amazon. We can see the ASIN. So this is Amazon's version of a barcode, essentially. So this is the unique product code for this pan in this case. And then we also have the UPC there. So if you're ever trying to use the UPC to maybe find a match at a supplier or at a different website, you can do that there. We can also use these buttons right here. For example, we could open up the Amazon listing here. These buttons are going to be available other places where that's obviously a lot more useful than when we're already looking at the page. But stuff like the Google button is definitely super useful in this case, right? Because it's going to Google that item for us. Just going to automatically copy and paste that title so that we can potentially see if it's cheaper anywhere else, if we can find that product on a different website. We can also go ahead and open this product in the SaaS web app here. And the web app is pretty much all the information that you're going to get on the Chrome extension, except it's all laid out in one place for you. So if this is easier for you to look at, you can use the web app. I like to use the web app to specifically source products, and I'll be showing you my favorite method for that later on in the video. But heading back over to our Amazon listing, this is where we can start to get the quick info panel. And this is what you'll look at the most. And seeing this box right here turn green after you enter in your cost of goods sold is going to be an awesome provider of dopamine for you and go moving forward in your business, because that means that you've just found a profitable product, right? So all this information is going to break down whether or not you're eligible to sell the product. So if you're logged into your Amazon seller account on a different tab, this is going to automatically check for you, and it's going to say, yes, you are ungated, or no, you're not ungated, where you basically have to get approved to sell that big name brand. Luckily, getting ungated is pretty easy these days. So if you do run into that, you can go through that ungating process. And I have a full video on that on the channel, as well as all the basic concepts we're talking about today. I probably have a full video on the channel for you to dive into. The alerts panel right here is also very useful, as it gives you some quick information about your product. So I pulled up one that has a couple alerts in this case. So number one, it's telling us that there could be some intellectual property issues with selling this brand. To figure out if that is confirmed or not, you'd want to start looking at the new offer count, seeing if the brand sells it, all that kind of stuff. But the alerts panel is also going to show you stuff like, hey, this item's a little bit oversized. So in this case, this version of a product would go into my oversized storage. This panel will also show you things like whether or not the item is hazmat. It'll show you whether or not the item could be private label based on there being very few sellers in the past. So this is just a good thing to quickly eyeball, mouse over this to see if there's any potential issues with your product. And then we can also use this to see the BSR, or the best sellers rank. So the closer this number is to 1, the closer it is to the number 1 best-selling item in that category. In this case, this is the 38,000th best-selling item in home and kitchen, and it still sells about 430 times a month, according to the estimated sales on SellerAmp here. And then this max cost option is also super useful because it will change depending on whatever price you put in your sale price. So for example, the Buybox price on Amazon, where customers are actually buying it right now, seems to be about $84. So this is going to change that max cost to wherever I'm making 35% ROI or $3 profit. That's how my settings are set. That's configurable. And again, I'll show you how to do all those settings and all that good stuff later on in the video. And then we can also see everything from our profit to profit percent, ROI percentage. And we can also see the break even price right here, which which is going to be the sale price that would end up with you making $0. So in other words, in this situation, we would have about $23 of wiggle room where prices could drop before we're no longer making profit. And so that's the quick info panel. This is what you'll see a ton of as you're sourcing products. And a lot of time, just the quick information panel is going to help you quickly disqualify a product, whether it doesn't sell. I personally like to look for anything that sells at least 30 times a month, or if the profit is too low. Those are two easy ways to disqualify products. But this is where we can get a little bit fancier with it. And let's go ahead and dive into this box down here. This is our ranks and prices box. And what this is really useful for is things like average buy box price. So before I buy products to sell on Amazon, ideally I'm making a profit in the long run. So for example, on this item right here, if we're buying these for $40 and the 90-day average buy box price is $74, even though right now we're making a fairly solid profit, about 13 bucks, if we look at our average price, we're only making about $5 profit, right? And so one thing I like to look for, especially down here, is that if my products are profitable on the 90-day average price, meaning that price is somewhat consistent, I'm going to be way more likely to pull the trigger. And so something like this, where the profit is a little bit lower, usually you just want to consider that, maybe buy a little bit less inventory or dive into the charts that we will take a look at here in a second and see if there's a reason why you might be able to charge a higher price, right? You can also see things like if Amazon has had a price on this listing. So it seems over the last 180 days, Amazon's been on this a little bit around the $59 price point. We can see the lowest prices over time, but right now we're actually fairly close to some of the lowest prices we've seen. We can also see how often there are BSR drops. So that's going to mean, let's say right today, it's the 38,000th best-selling product. Then the next hour, it might sell really well, and then it drops to a lower sales rank, which would indicate that it is actively selling faster. So this drops number is just a good indicator of whether or not the item is actively selling. And then we can also kind of measure the volatility of an item with the net buy box price changes here. So on this item, we can see that over time in the last 30 days, there's been 0 increases in the price of this item, and there has been 11 decreases in the price of this item. So something like that, you might want to consider that it's a little bit risky that the price is just consistently dropping over time. Whereas some products, you might see the net changes 10 times it's increased and 0 times it's decreased. That's going to be a product that is much more likely to be profitable in the long run there. We can also see estimated sales is listed there again. And then the estimated time to sale here is just a super quick rough estimate on how long it might take you to make a sale after you list on the item. For the most part, any items that you're going to be buying to sell on Amazon, especially name brand products like this that are already selling, they should start selling pretty much the day they hit the Amazon warehouse. But if this is a really slow selling item, this might be a little bit more useful for you. So if you like high profit and slow selling items, that could be a little bit more useful for you to look into there. The alerts panel here is going to go into more detail on everything that I was talking about up here. But basically, it's just going to warn you of things like whether or not Amazon is sharing sales on the listing. It might be a private label. It could be IP, really big items, or it might have variations, or it be a meltable product, right? So there's a lot of things that you might want to look out for as you start selling products on Amazon. So this is just going to give you a quick warning, give you some things to think about. You don't want to buy a meltable product in the middle of June, and you probably also don't want to be buying products where, Amazon hasn't shared the buy box at all. In this case, we are totally good because Amazon hasn't been seen on this listing in 90 days. So this right here is the charts feature of SellerAmp, and this is where we can also get into a feature that we very recently added while I'm recording this video at least. And this is going to show us the entire history of the item's price, item sales rank, who was on the listing, how often Amazon was on the listing. And so for example, we could zoom out to the year-long horizon. And when I do that, I can see, for example, July 26th, it was an 8,000 sales rank. So it sells way better than it does currently. And the price was about $30 lower, right? Whereas recently, about a week ago, the price was up at $108 here for a bit, right? And the sales rank was 101,000. So there's a lot of things that make sense where, if the price goes up by almost double, it makes sense that the sales rank would go way up, meaning that it sells way slower, right? So this chart helps you figure out how fast your items might sell at different price points, essentially. And it's going to help you predict the future price of the item, right? So this is where the bottom graph really comes into play. And I'm also just going to simplify this for us as well. The new offer count down here is extremely useful, and it starts to tell a story that makes a lot of sense, right? So for example, on April 16th, there were 2 sellers, and that was also the day that the price was up at $108. And recently there's been like 5 or 6 sellers. The price has been closer to 75, somewhere around 80. And then very recently, again, as that seller count is dropping back down, way less supply, simple economics, the price is going to go up. And so in this example, we can see that in the last couple of days, as people have sold out, the price has gone up to that $99 price point that we can see popping up there. You can also use the new offer count to basically figure out what realistic prices are depending on the number of sellers that are on an item. So for example, back here when it was like a $60 item, there was anywhere from 8 to 15 sellers, 14 sellers or so here. Now that it's like a $75 item, there's been somewhere from down to 2 or 1 1 seller up to 8 sellers. So for example, on this item, if we see 12 sellers hop back on this listing, we can expect that the price will probably go back to what it was last time there were 12 sellers, right? So it's that simple middle school economics, figuring out where supply meets demand, and that's going to basically determine our pricing here, right? And just in case you're having any trouble following that, all of the lines are going to be indicated what they mean here. So for example, we can take away sales rank. We could just simplify the chart down to whatever you really want to see. And so you might just want to filter down to show me the buy box and show me how fast it was selling. You can make it as complicated or as simple as you want, depending on what you're trying to see. I would recommend just leave it on the default as a new seller and then tweaking it as you see fit, as you catch on to things. And then I also want to show you this new feature that we added super recently. And this feature shows you the monthly sold based on some different math that we've calculated for you on the back end here. So if you get a different number on the estimated sales than you do on the monthly sold, like we do in this example, you can just consider it a different data point for you, average it out, and get you a little bit better of an idea of how useful this is. But I personally like to use this as my estimated sales number. And then I like to look at the middle graph for things like seasonal items, right? So I have a quick example of a holiday item. It's an advent calendar. Obviously, it's going to be selling way better during the holiday season, which previously we would be able to see that on the sales rank chart up here. You can see how it goes from not selling super well at all to instantly being like a top 1,000 grocery product, which makes sense. Chocolate's advent, right? It's the perfect time of year for it. And typically we would just have to guess based on how fast the sales rank's increasing. And it was really hard to know how fast a seasonal item is actually going to sell during peak season. But now down here on the monthly sold graph, we can see that it's showing us the sales over time, depending on the different kind of seasonality it had. For example, during the peak of December, when everyone was buying a lot of advent calendars and stuff, these are selling over 10,000 a month. And now that it's April, they're selling 50 times a month or less, right? Which makes total sense. Probably not a ton of people out here buying these advent calendars in the middle of summer. And so the charts feature down here is super, super useful. That is one of the things you'll probably look at the most as an Amazon seller, as it really just helps you predict the stability, the future of your item, what prices are reasonable for your product. And before you pull the trigger on an item, just make sure that you're not buying something that's like way more expensive than normal. For example, looking at this item a couple days ago, you might think that this is always a $108 item, but if you look back, you can see that it's normally anywhere from $60 to $75. So you'd want to be a little bit careful there, right? So let's keep going down the list here. The offers tab is another super useful one for your business. And this is where you'll end up doing a lot of product research for your business. So this is going to show us who all is on the listing, how much stock they have left, what their price is, and then based on your current buy cost, how much profit and ROI we think that seller might be making. And so in this example, we can just go ahead and pop open one of the storefronts here. This guy's relatively new. They got 10 feedback. Let's figure out what they're selling, right? And this is really useful as a new Amazon seller. If you're trying to figure out what types of products to sell, what brands to sell, start diving into the storefronts of Amazon sellers here. And we can use the offers tab to find similar items that they've already sold. So for example, we can see that they're doing some Nike products. They're selling some Adidas, some Calphalon, like the pans we were just looking at. And this might teach you a bunch of new brands that you could be on the lookout for as you're sourcing products, right? So this storefront stalking feature of SellerAmp is extremely useful. And I will show you how to use this to actually find profitable products in the product research section of this video. But just keep in mind that the offers tab is super, super valuable. It'll show you who all is on the listing. It'll show you the different types of sellers on the listing. In this case, we only have FBM sellers. So no one has shipped this product to Amazon, which shows me that there could be a good opportunity for us to make some extra sales if we would want to be like the only FBA sellers on this listing, where we ship it into Amazon and then Amazon takes care of the order fulfillment, shipping it out to the customers, all that good stuff for us. We can also see the Buybox analysis on SellerAmp down here. So this is going to show me whether or not it's reasonable for me to actually make sales on an item. Some products you might look at the Buybox analysis and you'd see the brand themselves, they have the whole pie chart, or items that Amazon sells, you'll often see Amazon owning this whole pie chart. On this example, this tells me that I can probably make some sales as a third-party seller. I see plenty of different sellers on this listing. This guy's made a good amount of the sales, but based on the information up here, I'm pretty sure they've been out of stock for a minute. And so now we can probably start to see a lot of these guys right here make sales, right? So if we filter this by just one, we can see 22 hours ago, here's a different smaller seller, only 20 feedback, who was actually able to make some sales. And this is also a good example of something I get questions about pretty often, which is a suppressed buy box. So what does that actually mean? It means that there's no button on the Amazon listing that says add to cart. And that typically is going to slow down sales on Amazon. The reason why they probably did that on this listing is the price went way higher than normal and way higher than a lot of other websites list it. And so Amazon might make it a little bit harder for customers to buy an item that they think is overpriced on Amazon. Not that you can't sell products at a price that seems overpriced. That's the name of the game, is you want to sell products as high as possible. But just keep in mind that if the buy box is suppressed, it will slow down sales sales a little bit on a listing, but it doesn't completely kill them. So you don't have to run away if you see a suppressed buy box. Just keep in mind that if there is a suppressed buy box, that most of the sales on the listing will go to the seller with the fastest shipping speed and the lowest price. So usually that's going to be like an FBA seller who is at least close to the lowest price. In this example, since they're all FBM, this guy's probably going to be hogging all the sales in that situation, because all that changes is instead of an add to cart button, it's going to say view selling options, and then the buyer is going to have to go manually pick which store they want to buy from. So in this case, they're probably going to pick the store that is, about $16 cheaper than anything else. The next feature down here on SellerAmp is the variations tab. And to do that, I'm going to have to go over to an item that actually has variations, right? So I want to take us to a pair of shoes, right? This is going to be something that probably a lot of you guys are out there sourcing. It's a really good beginner friendly category since there are so many brands that you can find with tons of coupons, all that kind of stuff. Puma's a great example. And the variations tab is really useful for us to figure out how fast each individual variation might sell. So for example, on this listing, we can see the pie chart based on size. So we're going to see a lot of the most common shoe sizes, 10.5, 9.5, 12, 11, all that the fastest selling. We can also figure out which colors on this shoe people are actually buying. So in this case, it seems like the vast majority of the reviews, and therefore we can infer the vast majority of the sales are going to this matte charcoal gray white here. There's another 24% going to this color here, and then another 20, and then it seems like some other colors that have no reviews, right? And so you would want to be buying these specific colors and sizes here that actually have a good share of the reviews. A good rule of thumb is typically this percentage correlating to the percent of reviews on that listing that are for this specific size and color. That's going to be roughly correlated to the percentage of this estimated sales number that actually goes to that size and color, right? I know that's maybe a little bit confusing, but this sales number right here is split between all the different variations and all the different colors. And so based on the review percentage, for example, this one had 10% of the reviews. So we can roughly infer that this specific size is selling about 117 times a month, for example, here. And so previously that was one of the only ways to figure out how fast like a specific size shoe might be selling. But now we can also look at the monthly sold graph right here. And the nice part about this graph is that it's actually per variation. So this is telling me that there's about 100 sales per month on this specific color and size, which also lines up with our review method where we were predicting it to be about 117 sales. The next thing I want to break down is going to help you stay super organized in your Amazon business. And that's the Google Sheets feature of SellerAmp. This one involves a little bit of setup, but it has a massive payoff if you do it correctly. For example, I want to just show you a quick use case, and I'll show you actually how to set this up. Let's say as you're sourcing products, you came across this advent calendar that we were looking at earlier. Obviously, you don't want to buy an advent calendar in the middle of spring, summer, fall, but you probably want to start thinking about it towards October, November when we get close to the holiday season. And you'll start seeing a ton of items like this, even if it's not specifically a holiday item, whether it be a pair of shorts and you're sourcing in winter, or maybe it's a pool or something like that, right? Where it sells really well during a certain period of the year, but you just shouldn't buy it quite yet. And stuff like this, where the price shoots way up during the peak season, you want to remember those items, right? The better you are at cataloging and setting it up to be easy to remember your best products that you've found, the more money you're going to end up making on Amazon. So we can use this Google Sheets feature to basically, we can click Christmas in this example. And since I have a custom Google Sheet set up with Christmas items on it, I can just go ahead and have that send to my Christmas Google Sheet here. All of this information is fully configurable. And so you can have a ton of these different Google Sheets for different purposes, and you can have them spit out completely different information. So for example, if you want to have it send completely different information to the Google Sheet, what you'll do is you just go to the SellerAmp website up here on the top where it says Sheets. After you're logged in, you can just go ahead and start editing these Google Sheets here. So for example, if I want to edit the Christmas Google Sheet here, let's say I want to add the UPC barcode, I can do that. Or if I want to add the product image or image URL, or there's a ton of different things that I can add onto this here. The drop down box isn't going to show up for you guys here just with the way I'm recording, but there's about 50 to 60 different things we could throw on here, and use as much or as little data that actually keeps this useful for you. And so for another use case, you might want to, as you're buying items, have a buy list here. So it'll track the cost of goods sold that you already paid. So in this case, it'll send that 40 to your spreadsheet for you. You can paste like the link where you bought the item, and you can just store a ton of different data on whatever Google Sheet you want to. Another really good idea is to add an out of stock and an almost good list. So you could send a bunch of the leads that as you looked at it, it was out of stock at your source. You can just go ahead and send it to that out of stock sheet, paste your source link over on your Google Sheet. And then whenever you're out of ideas, not sure where to source, just do a quick check of that out of stock list, and you'll probably find some products where it was out of stock last week. This week it's back in stock, and you can buy it and sell it profitably. So tons of different use cases here. I would really recommend that you have this set up. It's going to be massive for saving you time, making sure your numbers are correct, correct, all that good stuff. And then that also takes us to the notes and tags section down here. This is going to be something that's really useful when you're trying to remember certain things about your item. So for example, let's say we found this item on the Black Friday sale or something like that. We could save that in our notes. And then when we go over to SellerAmp, we can go up here to history. And then if I search like Black Friday, that item is going to go ahead and pop up because it's in our notes section for that. Another use case for this is the star section over on the notes and tags. So if I star this item, then I go over to my SellerAmp history, I can select star here, and then that's just going to specifically filter down to all the products that I've starred. So maybe you only star products that you've actually sourced before, so that you can come back and now on your history page, you'll have a big list of everything that you've looked at and starred and bought to sell on Amazon. So no matter what Google Sheet you sent it to, you can have them all in kind of one list here. And this history feature is also just very useful in general as well. What it's going to let you do is it's going to store the history of every item you've looked at. So for example, here's like a lot of the items that I pulled up as examples for the video. You can also use the search bar to search for specific ASINs or specific brands. Let's say you did really well at an Adidas sale and you want to filter down to all your Adidas products right there. You can just go ahead and search Adidas in that box, and it's going to go ahead and search and pull those items up for you. Notes is one of those features that is super useful whenever you find like a niche use case that you really like using. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of ideas, and you can go from there as well. So next thing is going to be discounts that we can chat about here. This is just like a quick way to apply discounts based on your buy cost and all that. So if I press like a 20% discount, that's going to automatically go ahead and throw on a 20% discount on my cost price up here. The ROI changed to profitable since we last checked it. This is a good idea if you're looking at a good sale, like a 3 for 2 or buy one get one free, that kind of thing, where you have a 50% off sale. Just a quick way to add those profits onto there depending on the sale that you end up finding. We also have an integration with a software called Arbitrage Hero. I don't tend to use that a ton on the actual extension side, but when we're storefront stocking, when we're actually sourcing products, I'll show you a good use case for it. The profit calculator is next down here. We have the profit calculator up here, but this shows you the calculator in way more detail. And this also allows you to flip between different fulfillment methods. So whether you're an FBA seller, you're planning to have it in stock for 4, 9, however many months you are going to store it at the warehouse, ideally 0, because you sell it right away. We can also go ahead and flip on like FBM here. We can go ahead and estimate our cost of shipping this out via merchant fulfillment. That's going to give us a better idea of what we'll actually be making after all of our fees and all that good stuff. And as I toggle through here, you can also see where those actual fees are going. So for example, when I calculate it this way, we can see our 15% referral fee. You can see there is the FBA fees. We can see there is the inbound shipping. And this is something I have baked in on my settings. Again, I'll show you all the settings and all that good stuff here in a bit. We can also see profit margin, break-even sale price, all that good stuff that we saw up front, just in a little bit more detail. And then the quantity down here also allows you to bulk calculate your profits. So you can see if I buy 10 of them, here's my overall cost, profit, all that good stuff. And you can just use this to get some quick ballpark numbers in terms of what you're actually going to make on the entire buy. The lookup details function is also one of those that helps you remember when you've looked at items before. This is really helpful on brands and certain items that you're going to look at over and over again. Think Adidas, Puma, all those types of brands that you'll see on sale. You'll see the same products on sale over time. And this is also going to store the cost that you actually plugged in last time you looked at the item. So here we can see the last time I've checked it was today, the day I filmed this video. We can also go ahead and just throw in like a link. So if I found the item at a different website, at a wholesaler, wherever it is, I can just go ahead and go in here and save my source for that item. And then next time I look at the lookup details, instead of saying not specified, it's going to send me to that link wherever I found the products, right? So in this case, we can see here it is at the actual brand's website. So say a coupon comes around, it makes this profitable. We can just copy that, put it back into our lookup details over here. And then next time we look at the item, we see, oh, I found this for $40 before. Where did I find it? Oh, it's right here down in my lookup details. So it's just one of those things that helps you stay really organized. Down here, we can also access some features of Seller Central. I don't tend to use this a ton, but maybe this is something you're going to want to use a lot. Just some quick hotkeys that basically says add a product. So this will take you right to your Amazon seller page, where at the stage where you're adding this ASIN to your inventory, you can press this to go to your Seller Central account and view the information that you already have about this ASIN. And then you can press orders here, and that'll send you again to your Amazon seller account, and it'll show you all the orders that you have for this specific ASIN. This is one of those that's really useful if you're looking at the product that you've already bought, or if you're trying to list the brand new product, the add product button might be really helpful for you there as well. Getting down here to the end, we can also like search different things in this box. I'll explain this box after we quickly explain this ROI chart. This is basically just showing us, depending on the ROI that we want to have and the current cost price that we have plugged in up at the top, these are the different sale prices and ROI numbers that we basically end up getting. So, at our current cost price, if we sell for $79, we're getting a 25% ROI. This is not something I tend to check as I've been a more veteran seller, but it's good to glance at as you're a new seller, get an idea of the proportions of how much should my cost price be to sale price for me to make X ROI and this amount of profit. It's a good thing to glance at, especially if you're on the newer side. And then this search again blank, this actually lets us search for different products while we're looking at a different page. So if we want to, for example, let's see, maybe I want to find a listing that's only for the 10-inch or the 12-inch. That's going to go ahead and search Amazon for different items that match those search results, basically. So here's all of the hard anodized skillets and stuff that they're selling here. So we could see basically like our other options where we might be able to sell that on a different listing, that kind of stuff. So we can see here's like the 8-inch and 10-inch. So if our source has, you know, all the different sizes, the website itself would probably have, we could take advantage of that here. But this feature of searching for things on the actual page is super, super useful for product sourcing. And I'll show you guys how to do that as well. So now that we've ran through the Chrome extension, I want to quickly show you how to set up your settings correctly so that you actually make a profit after it's all said and done. And so this is the settings panel of SellerAmp. Again, this is just on the website. After you log in, you can go up here to the top right corner and then press settings, and that will take you right here. And once you're within our settings, we can go ahead and start setting minimums, our estimated costs, that kind of stuff. We can also drag around all those panels that we were looking at. If you like having them in different orders, like maybe we want to move alerts further down and charts further up so that we can look at the information more easily, totally rearrange however you see fit. If you end up not using any of them, they're all modular, so you can turn them on or off, have them not show up. So drag it around to however you like using your SellerAmp account there. So after you've got all the different panels that you actually want to see pulled up, let's go ahead and set some quick criteria in your settings here. Good rule of thumb with your best sellers rank here is to buy within the top 2% of any category. So I like to set my minimum BSR at 0% and then my maximum at 2. And basically what all these numbers are going to do here is set the numbers at which we are happy with our profit. When we're looking at these items here, these numbers that we're setting are going to decide when this turns green and when it turns red. So if I do $30, that's below my ideal ROI. But if I do 20, that's over my 35% ideal ROI. So it's going to give me a nice little green there, showing me that it is solid for us. So I like $3 minimum profit and 35% ROI. That's up to however you want to run your business, but that's a good kind of beginner guideline I like for you to follow. Down on here on our additional costs, you can go ahead and bake in any, you know, extra prep fees you might have. If you're using a prep center on all of your items, bake in that prep fee. I also like to add just like a quick little miscellaneous fee that'll cover boxes, poly bags, the tape that I use to put on the box, just so I'm super, super profitable after it's all said and done here. There's also a miscellaneous fee. If you're paying sales tax on all your items, for example, we go ahead and put in like 5% or whatever your sales tax rate is there. I ship most of my stuff to a sales tax free prep center, so that's not an issue for me. And instead, I usually just like to bake in my prep fee just when I'm looking at it. But if you don't want to forget about it, this is a really good place to go ahead and bake that in there. Baking in your inbound shipping is a fantastic idea though, because that is something you'll forget about pretty often. And it's going to cost you about 60 cents per pound, assuming you use Amazon optimized shipments. Those tend to give you more split shipments where Amazon wants you to ship to more warehouses, but you avoid paying a per unit placement fee. And that's just what I've seen to be the cheapest for me to do Amazon optimized, pay about 60 cents per pound. But again, that's going to be a business decision for you. I will say if you send a lot of smaller shipments, you might consider doing minimal split shipments. And that's a setting on your actual Amazon account. We can also set our peak storage fees here. So if we're during October 1st to December 31st during Q4, when the warehouses are super full, we can go ahead and turn that on here. Obviously right now it's middle of spring, so I don't want to turn that on. We can also go ahead and just change our defaults in terms of ranks and prices. If we want to look at averages only, we can do that. I like doing the current ranks and prices. And then whenever I'm analyzing the buy box, see how consistent I am, I like to look at that 90-day price. And then we can also throw in a lot more kind of fancy stuff here. Make sure you set your default fulfillment method to FBA or FBM, whichever you're using a lot more of there. And then down over here, you got some miscellaneous features here. I would recommend using these two here. Just trust me on that. You can also turn on storage geolocation. So if you're someone who's going to be using the mobile app that I'll talk about also in this video, that can be really useful. So you remember which store you scanned certain items at. There's also dark mode if you like using dark mode. Usually I am, just for some reason I like looking at SellerAmp in light mode. So that's totally up to you, obviously. And then we can also change our quick info panel. So if you only want to see, so on these items, if you only want to see your profit and ROI number, you don't care about the other things, you can go ahead and toggle those on or off however you see fit there. And then after you do make any changes, just make sure you go ahead and hit the save button down there, and then you'll be all good to go in terms of settings. And so now we've talked about all the nitty gritty, we can get into the really fun stuff, which is product sourcing, which is obviously the most important part for your business. And that's where SellerAmp's really going to shine. And that's where we're going to be able to help you find a ton of winning products. So basically what you're looking for, especially as a new seller, keep it as simple as possible. Sell big name brand products that are already selling super well. Stuff like this, you know, backpack right here that we were able to find on sale at Sierra. It's 30 bucks on sale right now. You can buy a whole bunch of them. And then that exact same bag on Amazon sells for $70. So we can quickly see if we are paying $30 for that item, you know, on Amazon, we're going to be able to make about a $21 profit selling it. And so now that we have this information in mind, we can use this to find a lot more winning products, right? Based on the fact that this item was sourced from a random website, nothing fancy about it. We didn't have to call a supplier, make a new product, that kind of thing. It's reasonable that the other sellers on this listing are doing the exact same thing, and we can probably figure out where they're getting some of their other products from. And so as we're looking at this person's storefront, I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, but this is where we can really start making some money and learning new brands. So I've never seen a couple of these brands, and it seems like this seller really focuses on like the outdoor category. So storefront stalking is the easiest way to learn new brands and learn the products in those brands that might be worth selling. And so let's just go ahead and filter down. So this Opinel brand right here, never heard of it, but let me show you how we can use SellerAmp to potentially source it. So as we're mousing through these items, we can see a lot of information about these products. There's a little bit of data error or something like that going on there, but something like this, we can see the entire price history of the item. We can see the sales rank on the item, and this kind of helps us quickly eyeball whether or not it's worth jumping into an item, trying to see if we can find it profitably. For example, something like this, where the price has been shooting down over time, that orange line is showing us the price. We might want to avoid buying products like that, where the price is massively shooting down over time. But stuff like this, where the price is staying relatively stable, we can go ahead and hit the Google button here, and we can see what is a reasonable price for us to buy these items at, right? So these are like 12 bucks right there. We could have it right there for 11. And the nice part about this is this max cost option right here. This will show you the price that we're trying to buy it for or less to make our ideal profit. So as I'm Googling these items, I'm trying to find this particular knife on sale with a coupon, whatever I can do to get it for under $9. That is my goal here. This one right here is 15 bucks over here. We can see if this is the same item. Yeah, it looks pretty similar to me. We can see like something like this is 11. So this is where we start getting into the nitty gritty of product research. I have hours and hours of showing you like tactical information to find winning items. On this example, since we're close price wise, I'd probably start checking for a free coupon code on extension like Capital One Shopping here. So maybe we can get a 20% off code or a 15% off code, something that makes this item profitable for us. And this is like the best way to learn the products that you would want to sell in certain brands without having to just automatically know what already sells, right? These sellers have already done the work of figuring out what we could sell on our store. Now we just have to be the ones to go out and actually find it. So again, we could just quickly start Googling a lot of these items, and the more items you Google, obviously the more items you're going to find. But what you're really trying to develop over time is the ability to just like eyeball these items here and know whether or not that max cost option is a reasonable price for you. And the only way you can figure that out is looking up as many items as possible, learning all the websites that sell a certain brand, finding the coupons there, and really just diving deep. So this part of the process is not easy. If anyone's telling you that selling on Amazon is easy, please run far away. Easy? No. Profitable? Worth it? Absolutely. That's kind of something that I want to be in, that type of business. Hopefully you do too. But this process of reverse sourcing, especially as a new seller, can be time consuming. A lot of new sellers throw in the towel, and that's why it's so profitable for us who stick around and keep selling on Amazon. So I also want to give you an actionable starting point for this method. What I would really recommend if you're trying to start finding these winning items is find some kind of big sale going on big name brand items. I found like a sale on Adidas products today. We can see if we shop on this sale, there's 3,000 items that are Adidas branded that we can get way cheaper than normal. And anytime we can get a good name brand way cheaper than normal, that's going to create some massive opportunity for us to go in. And let's just take this random example here. Here's these NMD R1s. These are on sale. Let's go ahead and go back over to Amazon so we can go R1. I think we had the women's right there. And the reason why I want to go to this listing is maybe we can find some profitable items on this particular listing right here. But really, this is just going to take me to a big list of other sellers who are actively selling Adidas products. So again, we'll go to the offers tab down here. We'll go up to their storefront. I'm just going to filter down to specifically their Adidas products because I know it's on sale today and I have a much higher success rate if I'm looking at a brand that I know I can find cheaply today. And then you want to start diving in from there. So instead of just like randomly clicking around to storefronts, that's what I'd really recommend you do. Just wanted to give you a quick little crash course there. And if you take the extra step of figuring out a place that you can get really cheap inventory in a certain brand, it's going to go a lot further. On the flip side of that, as you're looking through these different websites here, we can actually use SellerAmp to source products on the websites themselves, right? So looking at this product that we already know is profitable, if I just highlight over any text and then I hit the SellerAmp Chrome extension up there, that is going to grab that title and then it's going to immediately search that title on Amazon for me, including all of the BSR, who else is on the listing, and my max cost here. So for example, when I look up this listing, I can quickly see that product is right here listed on Sierra for 30, and right at one quick glance here, I can see that my max cost on Amazon is $37. So I'm in the money, I'm making profit selling something like this. The same thing applies when we're looking at these shoes, right? So it can also automatically pull the title title, even if you don't highlight the text. And now it's going to show me all of the listings on Amazon for these gray Adidas NMD ones, right? And then it's just our goal to go ahead and start clicking through here and figuring out which listing we're actually looking at, right? So here's the women's R1, 16K sales rank. A lot of times there's also multiple listings for the same exact item. And if you use any automated kind of sourcing software, it's only going to find the ones where it's perfectly like UPC, photo, everything matches. And those tend to be the listings that are the least profitable over time. You want to be selling the products that are the hardest to find. You're not using any kind of scraping or anything like that, because all these products that you're finding manually are going to have a much higher success rate at staying profitable. You're doing the legwork. You're looking for like these random listings that software might miss. You're hunting for the coupons here. We're stacking the cash back that popped up when I was looking at this website. All kinds of different things that you can stack to make your Amazon business way more efficient, more profitable than everyone else is doing the same thing. The other way that SellerAmp will be useful for your Amazon business is sourcing products out on the go, whether you're intentionally going out to Walmart's, Marshall's, TJ Maxx, the Adidas outlet, and scanning products. You can scan products using the SellerAmp app, and I want to show you how to do that, right? So all you do is download the SellerAmp app on your iPhone, on your Android, through the App Store or Google Play Store. And then whenever you found an item that you want to scan, we can just go ahead and shake the app. That's going to pull up the barcode here, and then that's going to read the barcode on the item that we want to look and potentially sell on Amazon. In this case, some Altoids I got laying around here, and that's going to pull up the listing for the peppermint tin in this case, right? So we can see that those peppermints, they sell 300 times a month. Right now they're selling for $3 and we'd have to pay negative $3, right? So definitely no profit left on selling like a one tint of the mints here. Looking down the list here, we could see that there's like a variety pack of Adidas mints where our max cost is $25. I'm not seeing estimated sales or anything like that here. Maybe it doesn't sell, but we can see lots of different listings where we could sell our products. Here's another listing, and you can just quickly identify on the fly which products that might be profitable, which ones aren't. And I've actually used this a ton to find profitable products in store. In fact, I want to go ahead and show you a quick clip of how I use this out in the wild to find a profitable product at Marshall's so you can see it in action. So this product right here, they got the price tag at $7. It's also a clearance sticker. Always be on the lookout for kind of like extra markdowns. So they're selling it for $7. The Amazon price, when we scan the barcode here, it's pulling up at $21. When we're buying it for $7, we're making $5.50 profit. So here's another winner right here. They got it marked at $3. When I scan it with the app, selling 75 times a month for $13. So we're gonna make pretty much a double up on our money if we punch in $3 right there. Yeah, we're making $3.82. We're actually over doubling our money on this. Now that you understand how to use every aspect of using SellerAmp to become a profitable Amazon seller, make sure you have your free trial activated. Again, I'll leave the link down below. You're gonna be able to get 14 days for free to go ahead and start using our product research tool, SellerAmp, find some profitable products. And of course, you can always message our support or drop a comment down below if you have any questions about using SellerAmp during your free trial. If you guys did get value from today's video, please feel free to also hit that subscribe button down below. That helps me out for sharing some value with your business. Let me know if you do have any questions, comments, anything like that. I'm always happy to answer those down below. But I really appreciate you watching this video. And if you want to see an in-depth breakdown of me using SellerAmp to source over $1,000 in profitable products in about 20 minutes, go ahead and click the video right here.